Now, here's the one thing with that last play that I'm speaking about. It seemed like they called it a loose ball foul at first, which would have been favorable for us because we have him in the bonus. Yeah, we were in the bonus with 5.5 minutes left to go. First time all season. I was shocked. We grabbed the rebound. Looked like they called it a loose ball foul. Yes, we can go to the free throw line. Oh, they changed it. Reset time.
What in the world did I just sit through? What did I just witness? I'm pretty sure I just had years shaved off the back end of my life. What a tough, ugly watch this game was. And on top of it, they lost. They lost.
And we talk about this. We are circled on everybody's schedule. Everyone, no one likes us, right? So everyone in our locker room, that's the only type of people that we have that we can lean on. And we got to be better in that area. We have got to stay disciplined. We have to stay focused. We need to get consistent, and we got to lean on each other. And I think that we've kind of wavered a little bit on that. We have our own islands, but as one of the leaders on the team, I got to do a better job of grouping people, right? In the fourth.
The LA Sparks just got the spark versus the Fever for some reason, man. But the Sparks always have matched up well with the Fever since last season, man. Tough ending for the Fever girls. Just some missed free throws, some questionable shots. Could have got it, man. Close game. I ain't even mad. The intensity is there, man. This team, if they can keep up this intensity, it's going to be real nice when Caitlin Clark gets...
And the referees, let's just blame the referees and say, hey, but you called a loose ball foul. This was a game that we should have won. Again. And a game that we lost, unfortunately. 89-87, Los Angeles Sparks defeat
The Indiana Fever will undoubtedly continue to fight through this adversity because that's what championship caliber teams do. They've already shown they can compete without Caitlin Clark, even winning the Commissioner's Cups and putting together impressive performances. But they shouldn't have to overcome referee bias on top of everything else they're dealing with. When Caitlin Clark returns from her groin injury, this Fever team will be a legitimate championship contender. They've developed the kind of defensive intensity and team chemistry that can carry them deep into the playoffs. Sophie Cunningham has been a crucial part of that development, bravely serving as the enforcer who protects her teammates when the officials refuse to. But the WNBA needs to take a long, hard look at its officiating standards and its accountability measures. Because when referees ignore dangerous contact to players' faces while obsessing over clean defensive plays, they've failed at their most basic responsibilities. The league's credibility is on the line, and fans are definitely starting to notice the obvious bias that's affecting game outcomes.
A disaster. This was a disaster. The Indiana Fever cannot keep losing to teams like the LA Sparks if they're supposed to be a good team. And Rickea Jackson, she just flat abused the Fever in the last 3 minutes of the game. Seriously, what?
The Sophie Cunningham face grab incident represents a new, dangerous low for WNBA officiating standards. When officials can blatantly ignore obvious dangerous contact to a player's face while simultaneously spending 5 agonizing minutes debating a perfectly clean defensive play, they have completely and utterly lost sight of their primary responsibilities, player safety and fair play. The fact that Cunningham could somehow smile and laugh it off afterward, a testament to her own composure, doesn't excuse the ref's catastrophic failure to protect her. Somebody pointed out that when the Fever called a timeout at the very end of the game, Coach Stephanie White didn't even draw up any plays. What are you doing exactly? What would you say it is that you do here? While Coach White deserves applause for continuing to call out this systematic bias, even after being fined multiple times for speaking the truth. The real discipline needs to be directed at the referees who continue to make an absolute mockery of professional basketball.
Sydney Colson, man, shout out to her, dog. I can't overlook her. 6 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds with that intelligent block, like it. 2 of 4 from the floor and then 2 of 3 from the 3. I mean, she was shooting like she was the scorer of the team. She put on her airy bag tonight.
This loss was heartbreaking because the Fever were right there. They were competing, fighting, and overcoming the atrocious officiating for most of the game. Aaliyah Boston led the way with an incredible 23 points and 12 rebounds. Natasha Howard added another 21 points and 9 rebounds in a strong performance. The effort from the team was undeniable. But in the end, they just couldn't overcome the seemingly insurmountable combination of missing their superstar and facing what felt like a systematic bias from the officials. The Fever missed their last 5 shots, including 4 in the final, crucial minute, as the immense pressure of playing short-handed and constantly fighting the refs finally took its toll. When you're constantly battling uphill against both your opponents and the officials, those closing moments of a tight game become exponentially more difficult to execute. This loss perfectly and painfully encapsulates everything that is currently wrong with WNBA officiating and how it's profoundly impacting the competitive balance across the entire league.
They went with Lexi Hall in the starting lineup, and she was just trying to get charge calls all night, trying to get the charge calls because she was lacking with the size with Rakia Jackson. So I understood why she was doing it and trying to get Rakia in foul trouble. It was smart. But at the end of the day, that last play, you never flop and give the ref the game to call. You never flop in the clutch moment, man. I'm sorry. I did not.
The absurdity of the situation reached its absolute peak when you consider the opponent. The Fever didn't lose to a powerhouse. They lost to the Los Angeles Sparks, literally one of the worst teams in the WNBA this season. A team that entered the game with a dismal 5-13 record. This was supposed to be a statement game for the Fever, a chance to prove they could win even while playing at home without their injured superstar, Caitlin Clark. Instead, it became another painful example of how bad, biased officiating can completely alter the outcome of a game. And let's be crystal clear, Caitlin Clark was desperately needed for this game. All those analysts and critics who have been pushing the delusional theory that the Indiana Fever are somehow better without Clark have been exposed as completely, utterly wrong. We can now officially put that ridiculous narrative to rest. R.I.P. Tombstone Piledriver. The BS is buried. If you can't see how incredibly limited the Indiana Fever are on offense without CC, you're either not watching the games or you simply don't know what you're looking at. With Clark healthy and on the court, the Fever would have likely won this game comfortably. Instead, they were forced to battle not only their opponents, but also the referees, all while missing their best player.
Here, let's point out the obvious. A lot of people said it. We can officially rest in peace. R.I.P. Undertaker, Tombstone Piledriver. The theory that this team is better without Caitlin Clark. ESPN, you got your ears on? We can officially Tombstone Piledrive that BS. If you can't see how incredibly limited the Indiana Fever are on offense without CC, you're either not watching or you don't know what you're watching. Agree.
The contradiction here is mind-boggling and deeply infuriating. When Sophie Cunningham, a player known for protecting her teammates, gets her face grabbed after being tackled to the ground, the refs shrug and say, "Play on." But when Sydney Colson makes a textbook, fundamentally sound defensive play, using only her hands on the ball, suddenly the whistles are blaring, and it requires a 5-minute forensic investigation to get the call right. Think about the message this sends to the players and the fans. Grab a player around the face and neck? No problem. Make a clean, beautiful defensive play using proper technique? That's a foul that requires an official review. This isn't just bad officiating. It's a pattern of selective enforcement that has been plaguing the Indiana Fever all season long, and Saturday night was just the most blatant, undeniable example yet.
Colson, 5 assists, no turnover. Colson, she played herself a good game. Michaela Timpson, 5 points, 1 block, really 2 blocks. I'm not sure why it's only talked about as 1. 6 rebounds. Michaela Timpson looked great today. Michaela Timpson looked pretty good today. I gotta be honest. 3 fouls in 12 minutes. Not what you would like to see. 1 foul was definitely...
But wait, it gets worse. A short time later, Fever guard Sydney Colson made a textbook, perfectly clean defensive play on Rakia Jackson of the Sparks. Replays show, without a shadow of a doubt, that Colson made contact only with the ball. Yet, these same referees, who just moments before had swallowed their whistles on a blatant assault, were suddenly alert and ready, calling a foul on Colson. The hypocrisy was so staggering that the Fever were forced to use a coach's challenge on a play that shouldn't have even been debatable. And then, in a moment that perfectly encapsulates the current state of WNBA officiating, the refs spent nearly 5 minutes huddled around the monitor, painstakingly deliberating over a play that was obviously a clean block to anyone with at least one working eyeball. The fact that they even had to challenge such a clear defensive play in the first place shows just how hopelessly lost these officials are.
And also Howard. Howard was doing a big one too. 8 of 11 from the field, 21 points, had 4 turnovers. Have to take care of that ball, but 2 blocks, 1 steal, 3 assists, and 9 rebounds. Howard has been consistently giving us everything she got out there, man. So I have to give it to her. She's been giving us everything she got. So shout out to her. Yeah, they took care of the ball pretty well today.
Let's break down the infuriating sequence of events that has rightfully sent fans into a frenzy. We begin with Sophie Cunningham, the player who has consistently and bravely stepped up as the enforcer for her targeted teammates all season long. During a scramble for a loose ball, Cunningham was literally tackled to the ground by an opposing player. As if that wasn't enough, the footage clearly shows her being grabbed around the face and neck area in what should have been an immediate, no questions asked foul call. Any competent referee crew in any professional league on the planet would have blown the whistle instantly. Instead, these officials, in a stunning display of what can only be described as either negligence or selective blindness, called it a jump ball. They acted as if violent, dangerous contact to a player's head and neck area is just a normal, acceptable part of a 50-50 challenge. It was a disgusting no call that put a player's safety directly at risk.
Somebody was saying earlier, and I took note of it, that when the Fever called a timeout at the very end of the game, anybody know Stephanie White didn't draw up any plays? What are you doing exactly? What would you say it is that you do here? Question mark. The office, your office space. What would you say it is that you do here exactly?
Things that go into that. At the end of the day, we got to be more disciplined. I didn't feel like we guarded our yard very well. I felt like we had times where we got them going the direction that we wanted to, and we bailed them out by fouling. But they did a good job of continuing to just put their head down and attack us and force us into those fouls.
What in the world did I just sit through? What did I just witness? I'm pretty sure I just had years shaved off the back end of my life. That's the sentiment echoing through the Indiana Fever fan base after Saturday night's gut-wrenching 89-87 loss to the struggling Los Angeles Sparks. What started as a routine game quickly and predictably devolved into another chaotic episode of WNBA referee incompetence. And this time, the evidence of systemic bias was so blatant, so undeniable, it has fans questioning the very integrity of the league. The real story wasn't the final score. It was watching the refs, once again, turn their backs on basic player safety, completely ignoring Fever forward, Sophie Cunningham having her face and neck grabbed right in front of them, only to then penalize her teammate for a perfectly clean defensive play moments later. This wasn't just another bad night of officiating, this was a disaster.